Alabama's best-known meteorologist does it all. TV newscasts. He also does science programs at schools. He writes a blog for Alabama Weather. He has his own podcast, Weather Brains, with a group of meteorologists. And he retweets. I call him America's most trusted weatherman. James Spann, good to see you.
Hey, Amy, that's a stretch, but thank you for the kind words. That was very nice. How you doing?
Really good, really good. I'm always impressed when I look at how active you are, and it's inspiring to see how much you do. But the big question is, how do you do it all?
Well, I'm energized. I love what I do. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to wake up at 4 a.m. and do this. They're paying me for what I love to do, and so it's an honor. So I basically work every day between about 4 a.m. and midnight. I sleep 3 hours a night, which is not healthy, but I'm energized. I feel better now than I felt when I was much, much younger. And as long as I've got the physical and mental strength, I'm good to go. Let's go. You know, most older people slow down. I speed up.
I love that. I love that about you. 46 years in the weather business is impressive. It's admirable. It's incredible. When you look at your career, probably doesn't feel like 46 years. I'm sure it's felt like a snap in time. But do you feel like there's been like a career-defining weather event, whether it was early in your career? Because there have been so many times when you've just been instrumental in the community as a meteorologist for providing information. But do you see any weather events that sort of have defined your career?
You know, I think for every meteorologist, you typically just have 1 or 2 days that define you. That's it. And I think for me professionally, one of those was a tornado outbreak we experienced here April 27, 2011. One day we had 62 tornadoes in the state alone, and 252 people died on my watch, which, by the way, is inexcusable for anybody. But that day defined me, good, bad, whatever. And history will judge that day. I would say it was our finest day, and I would say it's our worst day. When you have that much loss of life, something went wrong. But on the other hand, I think there should be a time to celebrate the ones that lived through that. We had horrible, large, violent, long-track tornadoes that day, but I think what we learned is the fact that we're not as good as we think we are. Let me rephrase that. I'm not as good as I think I am. About the time you think everything's going well with a warning process, something like this happens. And so I think we learned that we don't understand human behavior. My first major in college was electrical engineering, and then I finished in meteorology. I've never taken a single class in human behavior, social science, communication. And I think that's my weakness. And so I have worked so much with these amazing social scientists to take this interdisciplinary approach using social science and physical science. And I think we're better now than we were 14 years ago.
I would agree with that. If I remember back, you were on the air, pretty dedicated to that storm. I want to remember the stretch was about 10 hours on television talking about that.
Yeah, we had a morning round of storms that killed 5 people, but the big event was later in the day, in the afternoon and at night. And, you know, that's just what we do. I had a longer stretch this past Saturday on TV here. I mean, it's what we do here. But that day was very, very intense. And what I've done, not every one of them, but I've memorized almost every single name, 252 that died that day. And I know many of the surviving family members. I know their stories. I feel like I knew these people. And that has really, really motivated me to be better so that cannot happen again. Now, a day like that's a super outbreak. Those happen about once every 40 years. But on a routine day, for example, this past Saturday, we had 14 tornadoes here. And we had 3 people that died. And that's still a fail. To me, the metric of success is no loss of life. But at least we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, it is the most important thing that we do. When you think about Birmingham, Alabama, for someone like me, I love Birmingham. I've been there a couple of times as a visitor. But what's extraordinary for a forecaster and a meteorologist is, you know, severe weather might make the headlines in the form of tornadic activity. Really, though, this is a place where hurricanes can be incredibly impactful. The heat is an issue. I mean, literally, Birmingham has it all with weather.
Oh, I would say we have some of the most diverse weather on the planet here. I look back on the great blizzard of 1993. And this was a genuine generational blizzard. We had some parts of my territory here had over 2 feet of snow and drifts up to 6 feet. We had hurricane force winds during the blizzard. We had convective snow. And this was in the middle of March. So you go from that extreme to the horrific heat waves we can have, like the 1980 heat wave. And I listen, that's how old I am. I was doing the weather here in the summer of 1980, and we had horrific loss of life. That was a real heat wave. It was severe. We do have tropical impacts here. I could drive to the beach and be there in 4 hours. It's not that far away. And we can have flooding. We can have spin-off tornadoes. And, of course, we can have horrible flooding in addition to the tornadoes here. So it's very diverse. But I promise, Amy, we do have nice sunny days, too.
Oh, yeah. I've
nice
seen
here.
some beautiful sunsets myself in Birmingham. Yeah. So I have enjoyed the weather there. When you think about these different types of weather, though, it's a lot of extreme weather. Is there anything that scares you the most when you look at the different types of weather? Because some of it can be pretty threatening, pretty immediate, pretty terrifying.
I'm afraid of one thing only when it comes to weather, and it's lightning. Horrified. I've had a few close calls in my childhood out in the woods of rural South Alabama, and I really respect lightning, and I don't like it. The minute I hear thunder, I'm in. You can stay out here all day, but I'm inside. And as you know, really, lightning kills a lot of people. It doesn't get the headlines like tornadoes, but I'm just terrified of lightning. One single summer storm we have here, a hot summer afternoon, can have 5,000 ground strokes, and that stuff is deadly. So,
that's intense. And the thing people don't really realize is if the lightning strike doesn't kill you, it can certainly make your life completely change forever because of the damage it can do.
We had a teenage girl killed down here at Gulf Shores from lightning, and 3 of her friends had third-degree burns. Horrible, horrible, life-changing, painful burns. But the nice thing about lightning, you just get inside, go into a car, go into something, and you're okay. So it's not complicated, but we have to remind people that they've got to respect that. And I think everybody pays attention to tornadoes and hurricanes and the high-end stuff, but hey, lightning is a big deal.
When you think about what's happened over, the technology over 4 decades, things have changed dramatically in a lot of different scenarios. I mean, we think about, really radio was probably part of your early career. Then you transitioned into television. Now we've had so much streaming. You have the apps. Everyone's trying to get their weather on a computer automated app. What do you think about the technology that is there for the future, both in the way that you get a forecast? Because I love the invasiveness of an iPhone alert. I do love that. But there's a lot of technology that's emerging right now. What do you see as the future tools that will sort of help us do a better job?
Well, in terms of technology, I think the one thing we're all looking forward to, it's phased array radar. Right now, radar uses these parabolic antennas that are constantly spinning, and they take a tilt up, take a tilt up, take a tilt up. They do a volume scan, and it takes a while. With phased array, there's no moving parts, and you get instant real-time data from all tilts, and I think that's going to help us tremendously. And in terms of the dissemination of people getting the warning, I'll tell you right up front here, and I'll chase a rabbit, the biggest problem we have today is people are still honestly believing in their heart they're going to hear some World War I air raid siren in their home, in their business, to warn them of a tornado. That has killed more people where I live than anything else over the past 45 years. The siren mentality. If it was up to me, I'd climb these poles down where they still have them, take them down and burn them. That way you know that you won't hear them. So we've got to move past that. And again, the mobile technology is great. And I will say, cell service can fail. You know that. And if your phone can become a brick, and so that's why we preach, please have a weather radio. It's old school, but it's good school. A weather radio doesn't depend on cell technology, and it's like having a smoke alarm in your house for a tornado, and it's shocking to me how many people in tornado-prone areas don't have a weather radio. So that's still the baseline. But that is the absolute baseline. You really need that. But in terms of how the warnings are issued, I think that the next thing we're going to see, it's the threats in motion, polygons in motion. Everybody knows, respect the polygon. But in the new world, we're going to have facets, which is the new polygon system that's in constant motion. And I think that's going to be a really good thing. It's still not operational, and it might not be for another 5-10 years, but I think that will help. The goal is to eliminate false alarms and maintain a high POD, which is probability of detection. And I'm hoping that that will be a big help. And I'll chase another rabbit, another huge problem we have in the weather business. We're addicted to warnings, and we've got to stop this. The false alarm ratio is out of hand in many places, not everywhere, but some offices have an FAR of 90, 85 to 90, which means 85 to 90% of tornado warnings are false alarms. We're better than that. We really are. And if you go back to basic science, you can cut that number down and at the same time keeping up that POD. So, and again, I'm not faulting any specific Weather Service office, but I'm just saying as a culture, we've got to fight that, because now on the social media side, you've got rogue accounts that are constantly, every time there's a storm, they'll say it's generational, death-producing, mega outbreak, never happened before, and it's a routine thunderstorm day. And they do that to bring in monetization from the creator content funds and get engagement. And there's enough hype out there. We don't need to be doing that in the weather enterprise.
Right. You got to keep it serious. You can't cry wolf, because we all know that story. That's about as old as time. I have only a few minutes here with you, but I want to kind of do a little deep dive into what is it like when you interact with the public, because you are so accessible to people and they know you. You've been in the community. You have a long history. What's the most frequently asked question when people meet you? What do they want to know about you?
Well, listen, the thing about it today, and of course, most of the feedback comes through social media, and it can be an amazingly powerful tool where you get video, images that I can show on the streams immediately, and people do something when they see the weather. They don't necessarily do something when you show radar. We get reports in real time. It's very positive, but at the same time, you are going to attract a variety of people, and you know this, Amy, and it's hard for a female. It's brutal. I will never complain about the negativity I receive, because what you've received, and women in meteorology, it's horrible. It's inexcusable. But I've been told I should have been aborted by a coat hanger when I cut off a football game back here. And you know, that's the stuff where you just have to let it go in one ear and out the other. But my way of dealing with it, every once in a while, I'll take a choice hater, and on Facebook, of course, I will never dox anybody. I'll blur out the name, blur out everything, so nobody knows who they are. But I'll say, "Good morning to everyone except this guy," just to let you know, you might be on the Good Morning Post one morning, but. You know,
it's tough. It's tough because not everybody can appreciate the scenario, and also a lot of people hide behind their computers these days. So that's another thing. It's not the man in the arena. They're attacking the man in the arena, but they're never willing to stand in it. So that is an interesting thing you have to deal with in this profession. I imagine that you've had some pretty extraordinary experiences over the years because of your messaging and what you've done. What do you think is one of the greatest privileges you've had in your career?
Well, the greatest privilege, it's the opportunity to step in during a life-threatening event and make a tangible difference in helping to save somebody's life. Every human life is precious. And if you take the notion that you are a servant, and we all are, if you're doing weather, you are a servant, whether you work for the National Weather Service, you're in communication, you're in media, whatever. And if you take that and understand the importance of that and can step in and help to make a difference in someone's life, goodness gracious, how many opportunities do you see like that in other occupations? Not that many. So to me, that's the most serious part of what I do. But I think the real joy of my routine days, not tornado days, but routine days, it's seeing these kids in schools. My first opening, Amy, for a school program is now in spring 2027. Every single day, every single day, including the summers with summer programs. Today I was on the road 7 hours, 3.5 hours down, 3.5 hours back to a school called Headland Elementary School. Had a gym full. And for those kids, they'll probably never forget it. And for some of those kids, they will get interested in this and they will become meteorologists. And they will be darn good ones, better than me. And I love getting kids excited about science. And I love interacting with them. If I did not do this for a living, I'd be a third grade science teacher. So
that's cool. Why third grade?
Oh, they're great. They understand sarcasm. They think you're funny. They're still sweet. They've got the cognitive skill to learn middle school level science. They don't smell bad yet. They don't have hormone problems. Third grade, that's where you want to teach.
Oh, that's great. That's funny. That's true, though. I'm the mother of four, so I can relate to that for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I know you've made an impression on people who have gone into the business of weather because I've met them before. And I've also seen the messages that have celebrated your work in the form of saying, you saved my life, you protected my family. So I salute you for the work that you've done and that you continue to do every day. Ironically, today, James, I read on your tweets that you have a freeze warning. So yeah. Northern Alabama has their own freeze warning today. Not necessarily this one, but another kind.
Yeah, right. Yeah, everybody up north laughs at a freeze warning, but once we get into late March, the Weather Service begins to issue those, and that we have a lot of growers down here. They're trying to grow strawberries and peaches and things, and so yeah, it's just another example of the stuff that we deal with. But again, I will tell you, after doing this for all these years, 45 plus, I still have a deep joy of being able to do this. 3 hours of sleep, so what? And to be successful, in fact, I'm about to go to Valparaiso University tomorrow to be at the Great Lakes Meteorology Conference, and I can't wait to speak to these students and others that are there. Ginger Z came from Valpo. There's a lot of really strong meteorologists that came from there, but we're going to talk about their future, and I love this generation. I love their work ethic. I love their heart. I love their knowledge and their passion for the science, and they're going to be a lot better than mine. But I'm going to remind them that the one thing you've got to do still is work really hard. There's no substitute for hard work. I'm really not good at anything I do, but I will work harder than anybody else. And you've got to do it with a servant's heart, and you've got to follow your passion. And if weather is not your passion, you need to do something else. I've seen a lot of students get into this where it's really not their thing, but if this is your thing, it's the greatest job in the world. And we're going to do a case study of what happened here last Saturday. And I love case studies where you go back and look at the upper air, the surface, the whole setup, and show some skew tees and see what went right, what went wrong. We had a high risk, which is pretty rare, level 5 out of 5 here.
Right. Well, when you looked at some of the numbers, I mean, it was a textbook outbreak, but there were some numbers that were extraordinary, even just with when you look at the raw data there, it really was an exceptional setup.
Right, it was, and I think it verified nicely, but we didn't have a tornado that hit a population center. And there's one thing that we've got to remember. We're not just here to serve people in cities. We're here to serve everybody. I'm from rural South Alabama, out in the middle of nowhere. And are their lives not important? Some people say, well, it was a bust. It didn't hit Birmingham. Well, what do you mean? So we had 14 tornadoes in rural areas. Their life is not that important. And I see a lot of TV stations. They'll do tornado warning coverage in the city. The minute it gets out of the city, out in the country, they go back to Freak of the Week or whatever program's on television. No. I don't play that game. Every life is precious, and we have to take care of every people group. And as you probably heard my story, when I get interns in the summer from these brilliant college students, first place I take them is a Walmart in a working class part of the city to engage those students in conversation with people in the Walmart. That represents the best cross-section of people we serve. Some are right-wing, some are left-wing, some are no-wing. Some are old, some are young. Some live in the city, some live in the country, some have college degrees, some didn't finish elementary school. And we're here to serve everybody. And if you can't do that, you might want to go into research or something else. You can't do this thing where you're a practitioner like this. We've got to remember that identifying with people and communicating with all different types of people, even the ones that don't look like you and think like you and vote like you, that's really important. So it'll be a good session. I look forward to going. I love being on college campuses. We've been at Mississippi State for the conference there, and I absolutely love these. They're outstanding.
Well, your enthusiasm is contagious, and you are just an admirable meteorologist, an admirable human being. So I appreciate you taking the time. And, for me, you've made a difference in how I always want to up my game and elevate what I'm doing. So I appreciate that influence that you've had on me, and you've done it for so many. So thanks for your time, James.
Amy, you're the greatest. Thanks a lot. Enjoyed being here.
You got it.